Changes in communication patterns due to technology. A presentation by Tyius Mckinney. We're going to start off with the story of communication. And with the story of communication, we must talk about the history. So I'm going to go through the history of communication and how these things in history changed the way we communicate. The history of communication is mankind's search for a way to improve upon shouting. That was our original long-distance communication. How loud you could be was the way you could communicate, and that's how far away you could communicate. The definition of communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, behavior. To begin, we're going to talk about primitive times, and in primitive times, it was mostly pictures and drawings that we use. So a pictogram or a pictograph is an ideogram that conveys its meaning through its resemblance to a physical object. Pictographs are often used in writing and graphic systems in which characters are used to pictorially represent an appearance what it is. A pictograph is a form of writing which uses representational drawings, just like holographic writing. It uses drawings as letters to communicate. Pictographs were created back in primitive times on rocks using carving or engraving so that they could be passed down from generation to generation. The invention of paper was in 105 AD and it was invented in China under the Han Dynasty. Paper was very important because you could write down exactly what happened in the events and have it forever. As long as the paper was kept up in a dry place and preserved correctly, essentially forever you had a written account of history. The pictograms, things could have happened to those. The cave could have caved in. Somebody could have taken it away, erased it, things of that nature. But with paper and it was being preserved correctly, you could have a written history of exactly what happened. Also, paper is really what helped us to... The printing press was the next big invention, in my opinion, on what changed the way we communicate through technology. The printing press was a very useful invention, and it helped to increase prosperity and readily find new customers to communicate the news to. The first printing press was found in 1464. Let me backtrack. The first actual functioning printing press was found in Italy, and it was found in 1464. Then there was one in Switzerland about the following year. Printing really began in Venice, then in Paris in like 1470, and then it moved to Sweden in 1483. At the end of the century, most European kingdoms had a printing press and were printing often, except for Russia. Before the printing press, monks had to copy letters and books, and it took months and even years for one book to be made. This meant not many books were available for the public, therefore knowledge was limited to those who could only afford the knowledge. It also meant that everyone had to go to the Catholic Church for answers upon anything, meaning the Catholic Church was controlling the public's knowledge. With the invention of the printing press, a book could be made within a day. Many books could be made within a day. Now, the common people were able to buy a book because it was more affordable for them to buy a book, and they could, in turn, educate themselves rather than having to rely on rich people to educate them. This changed the communication pattern of the rich being the only ones educated and informed on what was going on around the world. Now, everybody who could read at that time could get books and learn and educate themselves. With the printing press came the news. The news being readily available to everybody. So newspapers soon followed. The first newspaper was found in Germany around 1609, and it was pretty good. It was regularly published so people could get the news. Newspapers then followed in Denmark in 1634, Florence in 1636, Sweden in 1645, and Poland in 1661. The earliest American newspaper was in Boston in 1609. The earliest American newspaper was published in Boston in 1704. In about 1782, out on the seas, you couldn't pass newspapers or pass writing, so you needed things like flags as a way to communicate between ships pretty far away. The British Navy had came up with a way for 28 flags to be used in conjunction with a printed code issued to the officers. So different combinations of the flags represented different letters or different words. You would use these flags to make sentences, and that's still what the Navy uses today as the nautical flags. So that was a very important part for, places where you can't pass notes or pass newspapers or show writing, because still shouting was a way of effective long range communication. So the first mail coach was ran from Bristol to London in about 1784. This happened in Europe before it actually happened in America, with the Pony Express and stuff. But it was still a milestone because mail was able to be passed long distances. So you could take something from the first original colonies out to California. It would take a very long time, but it was still able to get there faster than, the spread of a newspaper. And it was still important. So now we're moving more into the technological age, more like telecommunications. And in telecommunications, there were lots of inventions that changed the way we communicate. That changed communication patterns multiple times very quickly. So I'm just going to go down a list of inventions on what they did and how they did it. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell and Thomas Watson exhibited an electronic telephone. This was important because it was more effective than the mail system, making information travel faster, giving the ability to communicate person to person over long distances. In 1920, the radio station based in Pittsburgh began its first broadcast. This was important because of the ability to communicate to a mass group of people at one time for up to 250 miles away, passing news and dangers to everyone listening. In 1925, John Bard transmitted the first television signal. TV brought communication to the face of you. Now you could see and hear the person that was communicating to you. Even though TV was a one-way communication style, it made it a much more personable experience for those listening and watching. In 1976, the personal computer market was born. Computers were not made intentionally for communication, but now with the help of the internet, you could talk to anybody that you wanted to, anytime, anywhere. In 1981, the Noradic Mobile Telephone Company made the world's first automatic mobile phone and put it in operation. This was important because the mobile phone made the ability to communicate around the world in your pocket. You could talk to anybody around the world at any time that you needed to. This was a very important invention because prior to this, telephones were stationary. People could have conversations in their cars. People could have conversations about something that just happened. In 1989, the United States government created the World Wide Web. It was originally created for the Department of Defense and the military, but it has grown way past that and way past what communication it was intended for. Now, instantly, you could get any information from anybody around the world. Through all those inventions, I would have to say the most significant impact of technology on communication would have to be the spread of the internet. The spread of the internet gave sending emails, chatting. In the pre-information technology days, a document often required typing and retyping on a typewriter before the final version was able to be produced or shown. Sending a letter across a great distance required a visit to the post office, a postage stamp, and everything that took to get that letter to the place it was supposed to go. Faster methods such as telegrams were severe limitations to text, and they cost a lot. Computers and the internet have made the process of creating and editing documents and applying features such as spell check and grammar check automatically, making it very easy and normal for you to get a document across the world. Email letters and documents to any part of the globe within seconds, making telegrams and even ordinary letters obsolete. The internet has thus created and increased the spread of communication. To answer the question of how technology has changed communication patterns is incomplete without mentioning technology's roles in communication systems. Technology has brought down the cost of communication significantly and improved people's access 100-fold. The only thing left to discuss is how technology and communication will continue working hand in hand in the future. The language barriers are starting to disappear. Devices can now translate languages in real time, allowing people from different countries, different cultures to communicate without the need of a third party or translator. This is amazing, allowing people from third world countries
translation experience. It's an incredible application of Google Translate powered by machine learning that's like having a personal translator by your side. To show you how easy this experience is, I'd like to invite Isabel back on stage for a conversation in her native language, Swedish. Okay. Hey Isabel, how's it going?
Hej Isabel, hur är läget?
Helt okej, tack.
Absolutely okay, thank you.
What do you think of these cool new headphones?
Vad tycker du om de här coola nya hörlurarna?
Mitt team designade dem, så jag tycker de är ganska coola.
My team designed them, so I think they're pretty cool.
Thank you, Isabel. So with Pixel Buds, I can use real-time Google Translate to have a natural conversation in 40 languages. Google Pixel Buds.
Augmented reality is a big market in today's world, but it's going to get even bigger. In augmented reality, you can view the world through a technological overlay. This will take a form of handheld devices like smartphones. We'll have several augmented reality applications that will be installed in your phone. The possible application for these is quite unlimited. You can put them in glasses, you can put them in, and again in cell phones. And soon they're talking about putting chips in your brain, but I think that's a bit much and not something that I would like, but for some they might like it. In either case, you will view the world in real time. In either case, whatever application you're going to be using, you're going to view the world in real time with digital information while you're viewing. So if you're looking at a restaurant, you can look at the reviews of that restaurant, what people say, what the menu's like, before even walking in, before even looking down at your cell phone. You're looking through your glasses at the place, it'll tell you exactly what it is. Or you're looking at to buy a car, you can compare cars in your glasses while buying the car. Honestly, it's going to eliminate salesmen and make it way harder for them to sell, but I think more technology, more information for people is better. The more information we have, the better choices. Communication will always change, and it will change to become more effective for the people that are using it. Only time will tell exactly how communication will change with technology in 10, 20, 30, even 100 years from now. Honestly, the ceiling is nowhere to be found. As long as we can think it, we can make it.